everybody. Welcome to Cougar Talk. We have the pleasure today of talking with Lisa Batch Lockley, Springfield class of 1975. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
That's great. Lisa is well known in the Springfield and Morton community in Springfield Township of being a fantastic athlete back in the day. We're going to talk about her family history, her athletic journey, and into her great journey of Achievers Hall of Fame for Springfield High School that went into being a professor at Widener. Is that right, Lisa?
Professor Widener and a teacher at the Widener Child Development Center for
Outstanding.
25 years.
Outstanding. Now, are you retired now, or are you still working away?
I'm officially retired. When COVID hit, they were closing the school for that
Yeah.
period of time. And I didn't know if they were going to open again. And my director, she retired, the secretary retired, and I retired the same year.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So where do you live now, Lisa?
I'm still in Morton.
Oh, that's great.
Still in Morton.
That's
Yes.
great. Well, we're going to talk a lot about that, but I want to talk to you about kind of how I got interested in Lisa Batch. I started this journey of my podcast just maybe a few weeks ago, and you were the first on my list of women. We've had a few other men, but I remember seeing you in the 70s. So I was a 10-year-old little kid kind of hanging around the high school, and you were running track for Springfield. It may have been an AAU, because I used to do AAU back then too, and somebody said, you better stay around here and watch this gal. She's the fastest in the state here. And I did, and I watched you run on that old track of Springfield High School.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good memories there, right?
Yes. Especially when you fell.
Oh, really? What was that like? That was like the hard
Oh,
track back then, right?
cinders all in your arms and legs, and yes.
Oh, man. The youngsters don't know what it was like to run on a track on cinders.
Exactly.
What was that like? You had like the hard kind of things that dug into the cinders, like the shoes?
Yes, the spikes were a lot longer.
Spikes, yeah.
And because the ones they use now, it wouldn't have worked. So we use longer ones.
You're right.
And even the distance were different. Springfield's track was one of the oddest tracks because the 220 yards was a straightaway. It wasn't
Right.
a curve in a straight. So you had to be really, really in shape to do that.
Right.
Yep.
So part of the story about interviewing you was that I only knew of your athletic achievements and being a part of the Athletic Hall of Fame. There's a list, and you were one of the first people to be inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. You ran track, field hockey, basketball. But then I was kind of researching the Achievers at Springfield. There's an Achievers Hall of Fame, and there's your name right there in the first class of Achievers. So really, what a great career you've had for Springfield
Thank
and
you.
Morton, and I'm glad you could take the time out to talk to us today.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the all the great things you've done, Lisa, and I'll talk in a second about reading a paragraph of your inductions. But where did your dedication to hard work and service and sense of community come from? Family or?
Well, I came from a family of 8. It was eight of us. And we always were in competition with each other. We didn't
Yeah.
even have to have friends. We were all, friends as far as a family. But that was always it was always a thing in our family, the competition. And my dad and mom, they encouraged it. They encouraged us to do that. I think my
Amazing.
sister, my one sister was the only one that wasn't in sports.
Yeah. But even education was a big deal. I read about your family. There was one article
Yes.
from the Daily Times saying, all the women at least, and then your brother had gone to college. So academics must have been important.
Yes. It wasn't a choice. I mean, you could have had a choice, but you didn't think about it. You just knew you were going to go to college. And my father and mother encouraged it. Now, something might have happened and you didn't finish or whatever, but they encourage you to go to college. And I didn't know any different. I
Right.
just knew I was going to college. And that's another story.
Well, we'll talk about that. Morgan State University.
Morgan State University.
So I have a little interest, and I've done these interviews before in kind of genealogy and ancestry. Lisa, do you know how your family came to be in the Philadelphia area in Morton? Do you know much about your ancestry?
Well, my mom always lived here in Delaware County area.
Okay.
My father came from the Pittsburgh area,
Okay.
and he was in the service, Navy, and they met up at a dance because I made sure I asked my dad how they met up, and he said they met at a dance, and my mother could really dance, and they got married, and they stayed in Morton.
That's great.
Yes.
Where did they meet? In Morton or in?
Probably Morton. My mom, I don't think she went too many places outside of Morton, especially for a dance. So I'm almost sure it was probably Morton that they met up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I read about your father. Talk about him for a second. He was the police chief of Morton, and what's
he
his
was
background?
He was the first African American police chief and the first in Delaware County.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the first. Yep.
And how did he become a police officer and then a chief?
Well, he worked for, when he got out the military, from what I understand, he worked for Stillwell's warehouse, moving van type thing. And then from there, he became a police officer. He was married, became a police officer, and there was only one, well, two. It was the chief and him.
Yeah. Not too
Yeah,
many
so
people.
and I remember him even bringing the police car home and the evidence home and everything came home, to my mom and dad's house because
Yeah.
they didn't have the police station at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that must have been tough being a child of a police chief, right? And all the
Um,
focus on you and friends and family.
it was only one time that I could actually say that it was a problem. I didn't pay attention to it. But my sister and I, we were trying to help some friends get on the train, and we were 1 minute late past the curfew.
Yeah.
And when we got in the house, my mother said, how can your dad enforce the curfew if you guys aren't in? So she was
Right.
strict about that. Yeah, we
Interesting.
were in high school at the time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And what are some of your memories about your mother early on?
Oh gosh, my mother, she was almost like a saint. Everyone loved her. I don't
Yeah.
think she even had an enemy. Everyone loved her. She sang in the church choir. She was always supportive of everything that the 8 children did. She was always there to support you. In fact, my mom had to work, and so she said to me one day, "I'm going to come to your hockey game."
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only one that she was able to come to, but I will never forget that. I will never forget it.
That's a great story.
Yes.
So she never really saw you run or do any other
She
sports?
saw me run because
Okay.
I ran year round. She would see me in the summer if she couldn't see me during the school year. But as far as hockey and basketball and lacrosse, that was the only one that she was able to attend. And just so happened, something happened, of course. I don't know if I should talk about it.
Yeah. Feel
Um,
free. We can always edit it out.
Okay, what had happened was I was a left wing, and I was going after this girl, and we were tussling with the ball, and all of a sudden the N word came out.
Mm.
Yeah, because back in the '70s, that's what you had to deal with. But anyway, the whole game stopped because that's how loud she said it, and my mom. I looked over at my mom. And they shut the game down, and she asked me, was I okay? And I said, yeah, I don't go by what I'm not. So I said, let's continue to play. And then the official got involved, and she put the girl out of the game, and she apologized on behalf of the girl, and the coach came over, and yeah.
Yeah. That's sad, but let's jump into that if you don't mind, Lisa.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind.
I'm really interested in you growing up in Morton. How was that with racism? It's
We didn't when we were going to the school in Morton, elementary school in Morton. We didn't know of racism because we grew up that way. As far as having different nationalities in our classroom, and so when we were told that we had to go to Springfield because we were going to Ridley, we were told we had to go to Springfield. I remember waking up at in our gymnasium, and they were having a discussion about they didn't Springfield didn't want us to come. They didn't
right.
want us to come there, and I woke up to saying we don't want them.
Mm,
So, and I was wondering why. Why don't you want us? But anyway, we end up going to Springfield. But just before the school year ended, I remember they called me out of class, asked me to go into the gymnasium and bounce a ball up and down, just up and down the gym. And I looked over and there was people on the side, and I found out later on they were coaches,
right.
and they wanted to see who the athletes were.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And you were an athlete.
Yes, I get.
Yeah. So when you went to Springfield and the reality was that people didn't want you there. I mean,
Right.
was that more from students or did you feel that from
Um,
teachers, community?
well, to me, it was the community, the parents at first. But then when you got into the school, I don't know what was going on, only to say that there were fights every day.
Mm,
And up and from the time I had gotten there, from seventh grade to 12th grade, I don't know if this was on purpose or design, but I never had any of my friends in my classroom. None. Through the whole
mm,
time. Everyone else did, but I didn't. Now, I came to the conclusion they didn't want me involved, even to talk, to find out what was going on during the day, because I could have gotten in a fight and then I couldn't have played the sport. And,
yeah,
it was all into that. It was strange. It was really strange at that time.
I'm sure. I'm sure this is a shame. I mean, do you remember when Martin Luther King was killed? What was the environment around Morton and Springfield?
Um, I didn't. I didn't really. I knew of Martin Luther King, but I didn't really know of him. The only reason I was saying that is because we didn't have a TV until later on,
Right.
and so we weren't exposed to a lot of things like that. It wasn't talked about. I remember more so when Kennedy died,
Okay.
because my teacher was upset about it, and I was only in first grade, and she came in and said the president just got killed. But I can't. With Martin Luther King, I saw on other people's TVs about this man, and I saw the funeral and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that one incident, and maybe there was more incidents. I'm sure there was of
Hmm.
racism on the field hockey field. Um, your response to that, I forget exactly what it was, but what's your general response to racism in your life, and how do you teach people how to respond
Well,
to
I
those kind of
I
things?
I have a group of teenagers right now that I've had for 35 years. It's community service, and I always tell them, just like I said, do not answer to what you're not.
Right.
If you're not the N word, you don't answer to it. You have another name. I teach them kindness, but I also let them know there's things out there that might not be of your favor. They might not like you.
Right.
Um, prayer, prayer is really vital in my life.
Hmm.
Yeah, the church. So that's basically with racism. I really don't understand it because we're all
Right.
human beings, and there's no difference in it. We have blood, we have
That's
skin,
right.
you know. So I don't understand racism.
Yeah.
I wasn't brought up that way. So yeah.
Yeah. It's horrific, and it happens now. I mean, you think
Yes.
back to civil rights,
Yes.
and now we're into 2026,
And it's still there.
and you still see it.
Hmm.
And your kids. How many kids do you have, Lisa?
I have four.
Okay.
They even had to see it at Springfield, and it always seems like whenever no matter what they did, they moved the bar on them.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. My daughter was an A student, and she was told that she was going to National Honor Society, and she remained an A student. When it was time for the ceremony, she called me up and said, "Mom, they didn't invite me down to be inducted." And I called up and I said, "Why?" They said because she wasn't in any club. She was in sports, but she wasn't in any club. So the bar always got moved as far as my kids, but I fought for them, and each time something would happen.
So I don't want to put you on the spot here, but were there any people that were kinder that kind of helped you through?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Teachers, Mr. Schaefer, I'll never forget him. He was really, he was one of the teachers I really admired. Mr. Sanborn. So there were teachers that I could go to, and just talk to them. But a lot of times I tried to ignore it. I really did. Walking home from school, from the different sports I played, I was having bottles thrown at me. And I would still stay after school and play sports, and I don't know. I tried to ignore it just to get through it. And I'm glad, in a way, that it happened because there were other things in my life later on that helped me to get through what I had to get through, especially in college.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that too. But from what the pictures show, I mean, you were the only African American on many of those teams at that time. So
Yes.
so not to make a difference of it, but you were the Jackie Robinson, if you will, the first African American woman to go through that, and that must have been
Right.
challenging and hard.
Now, my sister played hockey, but she was in high school at the time.
Okay.
My other sister, she was a cheerleader. So
Right.
you could see where we were told, if you want to do something, do it.
Right.
Try for it and do it.
So where did you get these great genes for athleticism, Lisa? Were any of your parents or aunts and uncles athletes?
My mom, I'm sure she didn't play sports, and my dad, he played baseball. He did play for the Negro League on the main line.
Wow.
He played sports, so or at least played baseball. Our whole family, for some reason, we are so athletic and competitive.
Yeah.
I have little nephews now that are doing jujitsu and all that and winning, and they're only 7.
That's great. Now let's talk about your early days. You mentioned that you were in a school. Was it Smedley School back? The school back then?
Yes,
that you
Sydney
went to?
Smedley. Yes.
Okay. And what were your first kind of experiences with athletics? I mean, right from the beginning, or
We always had a field day
yeah,
where during the spring we would have a field day. And that's where I noticed that I was really, really athletic because I even tried to beat the boys. I didn't care. The girls never wanted to be in the races, and I always wanted to.
yeah,
So, or throw the football. I was always there with the boys throwing the football. Yeah.
that was a field day. That was my first idea of where I was athletic. I was never
Oh.
fast, and certainly I wasn't as fast as you. But so I went to Central School,
Oh, okay.
and they had field day, and it was blue and gold or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And we'd all line up on the line, right? And then whoever was the fastest would win. So it was pretty
Right.
obvious who was the fast people back in the day, right?
Now, my husband, he played football. Well, he ended up being my husband. He played football for Springfield,
Oh,
and he and I were like the fastest in the whole school.
wow.
So what had happened was they called the reporters and asked them to do a story on us. And I remember going out on the track, and they made it so that we had to run against each other.
Oh,
Well, I was used to a gun. He was used to a whistle. And I stood there because I'm used to a gun because I was running with the Philadelphia Hawks at the time.
yeah.
And all of a sudden I had to catch up to him. And
Yeah.
I kind of almost got there. And the newspaper said that I called him a fascist pig. Well, you know that was around that time. I never called him that. Um, but we were the fastest in the whole school.
Amazing. So, are your children fast? Were they track people or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They played sports. My son Justin, he went to Lock Haven, and he ran track for them. My son Garrison, he ran track for Widener, and my son Ashley ran it for Springfield. And yeah, and my daughter Brooke, she ran for Springfield.
Yeah. Now, so Smedley School, and what was it like going to school in Smedley School in the late '60s and '70s? What was that
I
like?
loved it. I loved it because everyone got along. I'm not saying we always got along, but basically we got along.
Yeah.
Um, and we had our little field days and things like that. As far as going on trips, we had one trip a year. We had assemblies, but I really liked Smedley. It was a
And
nice
the
school.
and the borough of Morton was a nice place to grow up.
Yes, oh, definitely.
So Lisa, what was it like to grow up in Morton Borough?
Morton Borough was really nice. We never really went home for lunch because we would climb trees and get the apples and the cherries and the pears. So, but when it was time to, as it was getting dark, we knew to be home before the sun went down or the lights came on. We knew that was our clock. That was our
Yeah,
watch.
that's right.
And if your mother was looking for you or your father was looking for you, they would just yell out. And somebody on the next street would hear it and they would give you the message. That's how
Yeah.
we didn't have telephones, not
No,
cell phones. We didn't have cell
that's
phones.
that's right. That was much like I grew up. And did you have a favorite park that you guys would hang out with and play or?
Well, now it's called Jacobs Park,
Okay.
but we just knew it as the woods.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we just knew it as the woods.
And what
That was
kind of things would you do in the park when you
um.
were a kid?
Well, there was an old school. It was called Phyllis Wheatley. Now I never did this, but a lot of them it was already closed. But a lot of the kids would go inside of there and they would run around the school. But we would play basketball and they had swings
Yeah.
and we had a maypole that was still around.
Oh,
So yeah, so they
nice.
were the things that we used to do.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So then did you say seventh grade? Then you would be going to Springfield High School.
Right, ETR.
Now, were you one of the first classes from Morton to go to Springfield?
Yes.
Or, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Now
And
they did have my sister, like I said, she was older, and so she was in the high school. But she came home and she said, "Mom, the police had to walk us in," and
jeez,
now hindsight, just like Bridges, you know what I mean? They had to escort them in.
you think that would happen in the South, but it happened
It
right in our
happened here.
backyard here,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Springfield High School.
Yes,
It's
Springfield.
amazing. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So you would be bused from Morton, I guess, to Springfield.
Okay, that's another story.
Mm,
Because we did not live 1 mile from the the border of like the school district or the
yeah.
schools, we had to walk.
Get out of town.
We had to walk. Now, 3 houses down or 4 houses down, they were safe. They could catch the bus. But because we lived not a mile away, we had to walk across Baltimore Pike to get. It was crazy.
So this was a whole contingent of people from Morton just walking to school, right?
Yes, because now on our well, we called it the bottom of the how can I put it, the streets. We were like considered the bottom, and there was like 50 some odd children that lived at the bottom of that section. So all of them had to walk. Now, if you
Mm.
lived at the top, like I said, 4 houses down, you could catch the bus.
So the younger kids would still go to Smedley, I imagine, but it was the junior high and high school kids that would have to
Right.
walk.
Yep.
They'd walk well, and you'd have to walk, like they say in the jokes. I mean, in snow and
In the
cold,
snow, the rain.
and that was over a mile for sure. I mean, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Cross Baltimore Pike.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then home, obviously.
And then home.
So, did you do that all through high school? You had to walk.
Unless there was one lady that allowed us because her children were going to the same school. We had to run and we had to sit on the curve, and if she said it's okay, we could get in her car. If not, we had to walk.
Mm,
So we got over there like a half an hour early because there was another family that would do the same thing.
right.
So whoever got there first.
Yeah. Jeez. So, did you go to the middle school at that point? Was that
The
the junior
middle
high
school.
So you had to go down to Woodland Avenue.
Yes.
The old, okay, it was called the junior high school then.
Right.
So, what was that like when you arrived at the middle school? I mean, there was
The
certainly,
first day or just
yeah, just
okay, the first day I was scared. First of all, it was a lot of people. We came from a school that had only one first grade, one second grade, one third grade. So when I got to the middle school, it was scary. It was scary.
yeah,
I did a friend, well, one young lady, she became my friend, and her name is Kathy Barr. I'll never forget it. Kathy Barr showed me how to get from classroom to classroom. But other than that, we didn't know what to do.
So, was Kathy Barr from Morton, or she was?
No, she was from Springfield.
Oh, okay.
She was in
And
my homeroom.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And was it a hostile relationship, or
It
part of time that you went there,
all the time.
or it was all the time?
All the time.
Hmm.
It was to the point where in the cafeteria when we would eat, to this day, the African American students still sit in that same spot. It's like it passed down the generations. They still sit in that same spot in the cafeteria.
60 years later.
Yes. And I would look up and I would like, okay, I want to sit at another table, but you knew not to. You sat at that table.
And even in the high school, it was like that.
Yes.
Right. Mm. So athletics at the junior high school, did they have women's sports in junior high school? Like how did you get involved in sports?
I didn't play any sports, but what I did was, I helped out like a gym class where we had the
Yeah.
presidential things, and I would get involved with that. But I don't remember any sports. Now they could have had them. I just didn't know about them.
I don't
Especially
remember.
for females. I don't remember any. Now they
Yeah.
could have had tennis or something
Yeah.
like that, but I don't remember
I'm
like
not sure at
track.
the junior high school. I know at the high school at that time they would have it, but at the junior high
Right.
school, I'm not sure. Do you remember your coach? You had one picture with Lois Carosi. Do you remember?
Yes, and Jane Bruce.
And Jane Frisch.
Yes.
What did you think of them as coaches?
I loved them. I loved
Yeah.
them. They really they knew I could run, so they said, "Do you want to try for hockey?" And I'm like, "What is hockey?"
Yeah.
And they said, "You don't have to know, just try out. We'll teach you." And that's what they did. And they did that also with my sister. We didn't know anything about hockey,
Yeah.
but they made sure we got the camps. Um, in this, I think it was this summer. It was this summer. They went to summer camp for
Mm.
hockey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you
I
enjoy
think.
playing those new sports?
Huh?
Did you enjoy playing the new
Oh
sports like
yes.
hockey and
And especially, I knew about basketball, but
yeah,
especially, and I knew about track, but especially lacrosse,
yeah,
because I played lacrosse also. And I'm like, what am I doing with this thing? Somebody's gonna kill me with this stick and this ball.
yeah?
But I learned how to play lacrosse.
That's a tough sport, especially
It
for
is.
women because there was no pocket, right? And the
Yeah,
boys
it's a
would have
little
pocket.
pocket, and you cradled it. See, I can still do it. You cradled
Yeah,
it, and
and I know at field hockey it wasn't any thrill to play on that field we had. It was kind of half dirt and half weeds, so it would be probably very tough to move a ball along.
right. right.
right?
We played at Haldeman,
Oh, you did? Okay.
and but a lot of times we were on that, what you said, that little field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't great. That wasn't the greatest.
That was the one towards St. Francis, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you
Interesting.
didn't play on the football field.
No,
No way.
they didn't let you do that. You
No.
said your husband was your future husband was a football player.
Yes, he played for Springfield. He got MVP.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember one game against Pencrest. He had 3 touchdowns.
I'll
Yeah,
have to
he
look
was
him up.
really.
And
Yeah.
who were the coaches back then? That was McCready.
McCready's. Yes.
McCready's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ace Bell.
Yes. Yeah.
Was Gladys Hart around as a coach? You remember her, Gladys Hart?
She was. She was my freshman coach for hockey.
Okay.
Yeah, she was my freshman coach, and then I got Jane Bruce. And I liked hockey because we were really competitive, but we became undefeated and unscored upon, and we had a really good team.
Do you remember some of your teammates that played back then?
Paula Petrie,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Paula Petrie and her brother Jeff played for the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, went to Princeton.
Mm-hmm. Suzanne Finelli, I know, I remember them all.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So you went through middle school, and I know you started running track for AAU when you were 14.
Yes.
How did that come about?
I
AAU.
was at Junior Olympics, and the Philadelphia Hawks missed their time that they could have qualified for nationals. So they came out to Springfield. And I was like, why did they come out here? But it was okay because at the end of the meet, the coach, Tony Hitton, went up to my mom and said, can your daughter join our team? 2 weeks later, I was in Canton, Ohio, running
Wow,
nationals. 2 weeks later.
that is amazing. Tell me about that trip. I mean, do you remember that trip and how you got out there? And
I didn't know anyone, and I felt as though I took someone's spot.
yeah,
So that wasn't the best because you could just tell it was a little bit of it was friction, but it wasn't. Everyone was still cordial, but I knew that I took someone's spot running on that 4x1.
yeah.
But I loved everyone got to know me. I loved the people that were on that team, and I still keep in contact with a couple of them to this day.
And you ran with that team through high school, right?
I ran with that team until I was 30.
Oh, jeez.
Till I was 30. And
Yeah.
that's another story. But yeah, I really loved the Philadelphia Hawks and Tony Hitton, and I remember one year at Penn Relays. I looked. He said, "Lisa, I'm putting you in the 100." I'm like, "Why are you putting me in the 100? They're Olympians." And I looked over. I did it anyway, but I looked over to my right and left, and sure enough, they were Olympians.
Wow.
And at the time, I was probably only about 17 years old, if that.
Do you remember who they were necessarily that you were running against?
Now, I don't. I do remember, but right now, I'm getting like a
Yeah,
freeze there.
that's
Um,
okay. But they
but
were Olympians.
they were Olympians. But I will say I didn't come in last.
So
But I
talk
told
about
him,
the
huh?
talk about the technicality of running sprints. I was always a basketball player, but
Right.
I never really understood like the coaching around sprinting. Did you get good coaching back then, knowing that you just ran?
Well, I'm
In,
gonna be truthful. In high school, because I ran with the Philadelphia Hawks, I knew a lot more than, like, say, the coach did.
yeah.
So a lot of times I was coaching myself
Okay. At
um,
Springfield.
at Springfield, but I
Yeah.
would also help the other athletes too, because especially on the 4x1 and all that. I think it was a teacher who they just needed somebody, an
Yeah.
adult, and
Sure.
so a lot of times I was coaching myself. With the Philadelphia Hawks, he was the best. He was Tony Hitton. He was really good. Um, I mean, he was running against people for for clubs forever.
Yeah.
That I knew of. Yeah.
So he taught you a lot about
Oh,
the sprinting and kind of how to
yes.
do it. And
Yes, and even it helped me because I ended up being a coach to two
yeah.
different teams. So really three different teams. But that helped me for what he did. He was showing me it helped me to coach.
So
Now,
you arrived. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
what I will say is that I made it to states. Well, the first when I'm my junior year, um, I was the only one in Delaware County, so I didn't have a ride. And guess what? Springfield didn't provide one. The only thing that they asked me was I going so they could submit my name, and I said I'm going. And I didn't have a coach go with me. My sister had to go with me, and we
Mm.
had to get our own transportation, which we caught a Greyhound bus to Penn State.
That's unbelievable.
They didn't give me allowance or anything. That's how it was back then. I don't know.
So did you have to stay overnight in?
Yes, and they allowed my sister to stay in the dorms also.
Mm,
Because I was underage and all that, and I didn't have a coach, and yeah.
that's really unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Now you arrived as a ninth grader, I assume, at the high school. Was that probably just as scary when you moved from the junior high to the?
No, because I was used to the school district by then.
Okay.
Um, there were still fights, but I was okay with it,
Mm,
because I got involved with the sports. So I had friends anyway. Still had friends. I had friends in Morton. I had friends in Springfield.
mm.
Yeah.
And then what was it like running track as a freshman? You must have started right away and started running.
Right. Because I ran with the Philadelphia Hawks, and because it was more competitive because we were running national a lot of times.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me,
Yeah.
and I was the fastest one in Delaware County. So, but there was one girl though from O'Hara that I remember. They made the biggest thing of the two of us in this race, and I think it was for districts.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's bring it on.
Did you win?
Yes. Yeah.
Where was that race? Do you remember the
At
district where they
Springfield.
ran?
At
Oh, was it
Springfield.
Springfield?
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
was the 100, or what did you run? What was your best?
I ran 100, the 200, and I also did the long jump.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you won everything.
Yeah, I had 3 records plus 2 relay records. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an article, I think I sent it to you, but it was around Carl Schaefer. I guess they didn't track women's sports in the newspaper. They didn't know the
No,
records.
and like now they have that dinner and all that. That wasn't around. For the men it was. For the boys, they had it.
Oh, like the benchwarmers banquet.
Yes, but not for
No
the
women.
girls.
Oh,
No.
jeez. Yeah, there were
Yep.
different times back then,
Different
unfortunately.
times.
Mm.
Different times.
So what did you do for fun back then? Like you were ninth grader to high school. I mean, what outside of sports, or was sports most of your kind of
Well,
social life?
that took up most of my time, but then I would go play. It was like I would play with the boys throwing footballs and things like that, and um, like we had games like we would play at night, and we would hide and go seek,
Yeah,
carts, things like that. We would play all those games. So, but that involved running too.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of running with that. So that's what I did, and going to dances.
What were the dances that you went to?
Well, there was always like a couple families that would have the dance, and
Yeah.
we would have block parties. Um, but if I had a race the next day, I only stayed for half an hour
Okay.
because I knew I had a race the next day. So, and I wouldn't dance. Now I don't know what made me. Nowadays, I could see why you wouldn't do it, because you would tire out your legs. But I knew not to dance or stay out too late when I
Yeah.
had to meet the next day.
Hmm. And the dances you didn't go to Springfield to go to dances. You
No,
just
no, they were
segregated.
all in Morton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever went to any dances in Springfield. In fact, I didn't even go on the proms because I was always at state. So,
Uh,
yeah.
when did you and your husband start dating?
11th grade.
Oh yeah.
We were good friends. We were good friends, but I don't know.
So tell me, maybe this is too much information to share on the
No.
podcast, but how'd you guys meet? Like when did you go on a date and
Well,
where'd you
well, we
go?
were always good friends, and we would go to the Junior Olympics together. We'd walk up to Springfield to the Junior Olympics, and I didn't really like him all that much. But then I don't know. 11th grade, I was in the band.
Yeah.
I was I had the flags, the flag unit,
Oh yeah.
which I ended up trying out and being the sergeant, and I made it, the
Oh,
sergeant of the band of the flag
wow.
unit in the
Yeah.
band. So when he would play football and I'd be at his games and I was in the band, so I know my life is just
That's great. Now, so let's go into so we talked a little bit about high school, but
okay.
do you have any real memories of track beyond what we talked about in high school or your other sports, basketball?
Um, no,
Okay.
that's probably it. Yeah.
And then when you were graduating Springfield, tell me about how you got involved with college. Like what was on your mind senior year in wanting to go to college?
Okay, like I said, it was where you were going to go, not if you wanted to go. So
Yeah.
I ended up going to Morgan State, and when I arrived at Morgan State, that was another. He was here. We go with another shock again, because then it was all my culture, all my
Yeah.
HBCU, and I
Yeah.
was scared again. Um, but after 2 weeks, I was fine. I was fine. I was mainly concerned about a place to stay.
Yeah.
Most kids nowadays, they wouldn't have been able to handle what I had to handle, and I was determined I was going to go to college. But I actually was in 5 different places before I finally settled down to the one place that I remained for the years I was at Morgan State.
Do you mean like a place to stay? Like tell us about that story when you said that people
Okay.
wouldn't have been
Well,
able to handle. What did you go through?
yeah, when I first got there, I was at my brother-in-law's house, and well, he ended up being my brother-in-law. I was at my brother-in-law's house for about 2 weeks. Then after that, I went to a lady's house who just got her divorce, and she told me I had to be in by 6 o'clock. Now track is well, anyway. Then I went to my cousin's house, and that kind of didn't work out too. I mean, it worked out for a while, but it didn't work out too well. And then finally, I was at one of the professors. I ended up at one of the professors' homes that was taking in boarders.
Okay. So they
Yeah.
didn't have dorms?
And I forgot. I started out at a hotel downtown, 5 miles away from the school, and I had to walk
Mm.
because I didn't have that much money to get on the bus and all that. Sometimes I did, but a lot of times I walked to get to school. Now that sounds crazy, but I had to do it. You know, another issue I ran through was eating. Morgan
Right.
State, when I first got on the track team, they didn't have a meal plan. They didn't even have scholarships at that time for women.
Mm.
So I didn't. I had a hard time. It was really something, but I had to. I had to eat. And
Right.
I remember at the hotel, we would wait for either someone to receive a package because it was a whole floor of Morgan State of
Mm.
athletes. We would
Yeah.
wait for someone to either receive a package or go down to the local cafeteria down there, and they might give you a sandwich. But uh, nowadays, these kids would not. They would have went home. They would went home.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out. But they had housing, but for some reason they gave it to the in-state students first.
Oh,
Yep.
got it.
And So here I was trying to find a place to stay, and I finally did. I tried out for the band at Morgan State. They already had their tryouts. I missed that, and then all of a sudden a sign went up and it said, "Girls track team, come try out for the girls track team, women's track team."
Yeah.
And it was only five of us. It was only five, well, six of us, and we had to carry every meet. We had to hurdle sometimes, and throw the shot put when we didn't know what we were doing. But we were the fastest team on the East Coast.
I read about that. That's incredible that you had a new club at Morgan State and you were able to compete with Penn State and
Yep.
Maryland and those other teams.
And we beat them at Penn Relays. In fact, when we first got to the meet the first year, the officials told us to get off the track. It was for college and not high school. And we're like, we are college because we were all short. And we went out there and we won. We won.
Amazing. So how was your time at Morgan State? Did you enjoy it
I
outside of
loved it.
athletics? Yeah.
With all the things I had to go through, I still love Morgan State. I love Morgan State to this day. I met
Yeah.
some friends there who end up being in my wedding. So
Yeah.
and we talk. We might not talk for a while, but then all of a sudden somebody will call and we'll connect, and we talk to this day. They're like my sisters.
That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went on to the Penn Relays. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? That's people don't know this, but it's the maybe largest track meet for
Yes,
in the United States.
yes. Do you
That's
mean
10.
for the? Well, we never went for high school.
Okay.
They never. I don't know. They didn't have it in their high school, or they didn't have us go. But for college, it was really exciting. I have to put that up there for running with the Philadelphia Hawks because it was so much fun,
Yeah.
and it was a challenge. That was the first year Morgan State ever went, and to this day we're still in the book
Is
as
that
being the
right?
first team. We're still in the book.
So did you have a coach at Morgan State? Did they
Oh
organize?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, we had a coach. In fact, we had a coach and a trainer. And then we had the guys. And the guys were more harder on us than the coach was. The male teams, because they wanted to
Yeah.
see us do well.
Yeah.
And we did so well, we qualified for the Olympic trials.
Mm.
And guess what?
And
We couldn't go
oh no.
because they didn't have it in their budget.
No.
We
This
couldn't go for the 1976 trials because they didn't know we were going to do as well.
yeah. This is Morgan State or is this
Morgan
your
State.
oh wow.
So we end up going to nationals. Groove by Groove heard about what had happened, and they paid for us to go to nationals in California.
Mm. And how'd you do? How'd you do in
We
nationals?
we did very well against all the rest of the colleges. We did very well. If I'm not mistaken, we got second in the 4x4.
Mm.
Yeah, we got second. And then we were coming. Well, Morgan State remind me of Springfield because they also had a gravel track. Everybody had gravel track. The track now is gorgeous, but that was another gravel track. Now as far as the Philadelphia Hawks, like I said, I was in my 30s when I last ran for them, and I had red hair and everything. But that was a really challenging day, the next day,
Mm.
because I was over at my mom's house and I fell asleep with my children, and my husband had called from our house, and he told my mom, I'll see her in the morning. Just let her sleep, because I was really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, he died.
Oh.
He was in a house fire. So, yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
So sad. So sad.
Yeah.
So how did that affect you moving forward?
I was scared again, but what had happened was with the help of God and prayers and my family, they really helped me out a lot because my youngest son was 2, and my oldest son was 9. So that was, I needed help, and they were there for me. They were there for me. Yep.
It sounds like through your life you've had that kind of good support around you with
Yes.
family and community. Do you
Yes.
feel lucky in that way?
I definitely feel lucky. My church family, they were supportive. The town of Morton was supportive, and helped me to raise my 4 children. Yeah. Yeah.
So talk about you graduated Morgan State and then you had to get a
Well,
job.
well,
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't graduate. I
Okay.
was there for 2 years. What had
Okay.
happened was my mom, she was working extra hours to try to keep me in the place I was staying, and my dad was working extra to keep me there because, like I said, I never got a scholarship except for the meal ticket. That was it. That was all
Mm,
I ended up getting from Morgan State. So I told my girlfriends I'm not coming back. I
mm,
said my mom is more important in her health than my dad, and they're like, "You're going to be back," and I'm like, "No."
mm.
So when I got home, I promised my mom that I would finish one day. I would finish college, and I did. But
Nice.
yeah, that's when I went on to Widener. But I did get jobs. I was a cashier. I was a cashier to like 5 different places. But I ended up going to Widener, and
Nice.
yeah, I graduated there with a bachelor's and a master's.
So what? So you graduated in what year, and then you started working there
And I
afterwards?
started working there, right. I graduated. Now, see, now here we go again. I know the last one was 2003.
You got too many degrees to worry about.
I know that. I know. Well, it took a while for the bachelor's because they transferred some grades in, but not them all, not all. So I had to almost do 4 years there, and then I graduated with my master's in elementary ed. The first one was in early childhood, and then I ended up getting a job at the Child Development Center.
Okay.
So I wasn't making all that I wanted to make because I still had to support 4 children, and on a loan basis, I ended up going to Head Start until Widener, they were going to get another building. So they let me go to Head Start for about 3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah, and then I
Nice.
came back to Widener.
So tell me about that journey. I mean, that was sounds like a great career.
Oh
You've
yeah,
done so much stuff.
definitely. Head Start is different because it's like a state type thing,
Yeah.
but I noticed that sometimes like I wanted to get the parents more involved. So what I did was one day I got up on the ladder and I started putting up leaves on the ceiling. I knew what I was doing as far as I was trying to make a rainforest on my floor. By the time we got done, the parents were like looking up saying, "Can I help?" We did 3 floors of a rainforest.
Mm.
Each floor had something different, and then we did a presentation for the families and all the administration of Head Start, and so that was really interesting. I got Teacher of the Year twice,
Amazing.
lead teacher. Yeah.
You're going through all this, and I forgot one of the things I do is I read kind of the resume, if you will,
Uh
from.
huh.
I won't read the whole thing because we've talked about many of this stuff, but I don't want to. I didn't want to go over this, so I do want to read some of it.
Sure.
This says adjunct professor of early education, childhood, and elementary education at Widener University,
Hmm.
teaching college students, extremely committed to teaching adolescents as she actively worked with teens from the age of 12 to 18 in community service groups entitled Teens for Positive Empowerment.
Yes.
Lisa also founded the Timbuktu tutorial program and assisted young students and served as a feeder program to the Teens for Positive
Hmm.
Empowerment program. Talk about that a little bit. I love how you're getting involved with the teens here.
Okay, Yeshiva Timbuktu was founded in my church, a Shorter Amy Church in Morton, along with the pastor Pleasant Haley, Reverend Pleasant Haley.
Hmm.
He was really the founder. I was the more like the director,
Hmm.
and that went on for some years to the point where we had children that were failing. I mean, just all that failing. We ended up getting tutors from Swarthmore College, and so they came aboard. In that same year, Springfield was like, "What's going on down there? Why are these kids now starting to get A's?"
Mm.
They were starting to get A's. So what they did was they sent down every head of every department from Springfield to just watch us, to see what we were doing. And the next thing I know, truckloads of books were coming in from Springfield just to
Mm.
help out. So, but Yeshiva Timbuktu was very successful. In fact, people ask now, why don't we bring it back? Because that helped with the study, the techniques with the children. It was a good program. And from that, because we had to close it down, I end up, because I wanted to still be with my children to kind of protect them and see what they were doing, be involved with their life. I formed the Teens for Positive Empowerment. Now, remember, it was for my kids to watch what they were doing. 35 years later, I'm still doing it.
I love it.
And
Of course.
we do community service. We have career people come in once a month. We have what's called team building. We go out as a group and encourage each other. We have a business meeting. We do proms for senior citizens. We do art in the park. We do a senior citizens Christmas tea. We in 1 year, if you were in this group, in 1 year, because we figured it all out, 150 hours in one
Amazing.
year,
Yeah.
24 to 25.
I mean, what a great record of service to the community and to youngsters and
Mm-hmm.
teens. And I'm sure you've seen many of them grow up into family people
Yes.
and their kids. That must be good.
Well, I'm very excited because 34, well, really now it's 37. 37 have gone on to college.
Mm.
Because again, I tell them it's not an option, you're going. I'm not even their parent, but I feel like I'm their parent. But they go on. We had one that went into the workforce and one that went into the military. But other than that, they all go to college.
I mean, that's inspiring that you're talking about all this stuff, and you've touched so many students and probably now grandchildren, children of
Yes.
them. It's really inspiring to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Because my grandson's in it. So we have generations now that that are in it now. And then what we have, I also have what's called the alumni. So they come back and help whenever they can, whether it's financially or they're there to help with the children for community service. But they come back and help also. Yeah.
That's great. And not to weigh this against your athletic, but it's probably even more inspiring to you that you were so involved in education
Right.
as sports, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
But you had both, which is really an amazing career.
Hey, you know what? I'm about to, if I could just get myself up and get myself time. My two of my girlfriends in Morgan State are now in the senior games.
Really?
So guess who's getting ready to start that?
You're going to start working out? You mean getting back into it? Good for you.
Because I want to meet up with them. We can meet up at nationals.
Yeah.
They live in California, but we can meet up in nationals. So I'm gonna be hopefully in June trying out for the one in Delaware because you have to. It's like a year in advance.
Yeah.
You try out. If you make it, then you're already into nationals in the 2027.
When's the last time you ran the 100, Lisa?
Probably. Oh no, no, no! I take that back because I was in submasters, And what I did do, I was probably about 35
Yeah.
when I last ran.
Hmm.
I came in second, but that's
That's,
okay.
that's not
Not
like you
bad
coming
at
in
all.
second. I can expect in Masters you could be coming in first.
I hope so. I was showing two of my little teen surprise empowerment friends, and because they run for Springfield High School, I was showing them, and I said, "Well, come on out in the street. I'm going to show you how to do a start." I don't know if my mind was working faster than my feet, but when I went up for set and go, I landed right on my face in the street. It was like my son was like, "Mom, how did you do that? You never fell on the start." I said, "I don't know.
It's your
Maybe
mind
it's still
talking to your
there."
muscles.
Exactly. Maybe it's still there. Yep.
I'm sure it is. So, Lisa, we're coming to the end of our talk here. I mean, is there anything else you want to say or talk about, times in your life, or
Wow,
did
you've
we hit
covered a
everything?
lot. You brought up a
Say
lot of
again?
memories.
Yeah. Well, good. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, but I just want to say thank you so much. I would just like I said, it's my first podcast, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Thank
Well,
you.
I really enjoyed it, and I know our listeners will enjoy it. It was really a great perspective you have from Morton, and I'm sure a lot of eyes opened. And congratulations, and I appreciate all your service
Thank
to the
you.
community of Morton and to Springfield. It's really again inspiring
Thank
to
you.
me, and I'm sure to everybody that's listening.
Thank you so much.